My name is Jake, and if I ever had even the slightest doubt about where I stood in my family, it completely vanished the day I discovered the truth about the will. And it wasn't even some dramatic moment where my parents sat me down to explain their decision. No, I found out by complete accident, pure dumb luck. It happened a few months back when I was at their house, the same house I'd been helping pay for over the last 5 years. The mortgage, groceries, random repairs, all of it. I was the one keeping everything running while my brother Eric contributed absolutely nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing. No job, no responsibilities, just lying around waiting for life to hand him things he never earned. And honestly, my parents seemed more than willing to hand him whatever he wanted. That day, I was helping my dad with paperwork because, as usual, neither of them had the patience or ability to deal with it themselves. He asked me to scan a stack of documents, legal forms, financial statements, the usual mess. I didn't think twice until I saw it. A folder labeled estate plan, last will and testament sitting right there. I'm not the type to snoop, but come on. I had been the one making sure they never missed a bill. It didn't seem unreasonable to wonder what the future looked like. So I opened it. And the moment I read the words on the page, my stomach dropped. Everything, literally everything, was going to Eric. The house, the savings, the assets. My name wasn't even mentioned except for a throwaway line about loving both sons equally. Sure, equally. That must be why the golden child gets it all, while the son, who actually kept them afloat, isn't even worth a footnote. I felt like an idiot. All those years bending over backwards for them, paying bills, fixing things, giving up my time. I did it because I thought I mattered. And the whole time they were planning a future where I got absolutely nothing. And Eric, not only was he lazy, he was entitled. He never helped them, never contributed a dime, but somehow he still managed to convince them he deserved everything. Maybe it was because he was the younger one. Maybe they just always coddled him. Maybe he played them perfectly. Whatever the reason, the choice had already been made. I sat there staring at the paper, shaking with a mix of anger and betrayal. How long had they planned this? Did they ever appreciate a single thing I did for them? I don't know how long I sat frozen like that before my dad noticed. "Hey Jake, what's taking so long?" he asked, walking in. I didn't even try to hide the will. I held it up and looked straight at him. "So this is how it is," I said, my voice too calm. "Everything to Eric? After everything I've done for you?" His face went pale, but all he said was a tired sigh, like I was overreacting. "Jake, it's not what you think." "Oh really?" I snapped. "Because it looks pretty damn clear." He shifted like he was uncomfortable, but instead of explaining anything, he just muttered, "It's complicated." That was it. No apology, no justification, no acknowledgement of what I'd done for years. Just a weak excuse and the expectation that I'd drop it and keep being their personal ATM. I should have walked out right then, but I wanted to hear my mother say it too. I called for her. When she came in and saw the will in my hands, she looked guilty, but not guilty enough. "Jake, honey, you don't need the inheritance," she said softly, like I should be grateful she was even speaking. "You have a good job. You're independent. Eric, he struggles. We just want to make sure he's taken care of." That was the moment something inside me snapped. They weren't confused. They weren't unaware. They knew exactly what they were doing. And they believed it was justified. Years of enabling Eric's laziness, and now they were rewarding it by giving him everything and pushing me aside like I was just some tool they'd used up. I took a slow breath, set the will down, and said, "Got it. Good to know where we stand." Then I walked out, ignoring their protests as I slammed the door. They made their choice. Now I was going to make mine. After that day, I didn't go back. No calls, no check-ins. For the first time in years, I let them deal with their own lives. If they needed repairs, they could figure it out. If they needed groceries, they had legs. If that mortgage statement showed up, well, I wasn't the one paying it anymore. For about 2 weeks, they stayed quiet. Probably thought I was sulking, would eventually crawl back the way they were used to. Maybe they expected me to apologize for daring to be upset. But when the days went by with no messages from me, and more importantly, no money, the tone shifted fast. Then one afternoon, I got a text from Dad. "The property taxes are due." That was it. Not "how are you?" Not "can we talk?" Not even a fake apology. Just another demand, like I was still their bank account. I stared at it, almost amused. They truly thought nothing had changed. I typed back, "I'm sure Eric will take care of it since the house is his." 5 minutes later, my mom called. I let it ring. Then a text followed. "Jake, please don't do this. We need to talk." Now they wanted to talk, now that the bills were hitting them like a truck. After an hour, I finally replied, "There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice. Live with it." I figured the day was over. But then Eric decided to join in. His text came late that night, and the moment I saw his name, I already knew it would be something stupid. Dude, why are you being such a drama queen? It's not a big deal. Just help them like you always do. I actually laughed. Not a big deal. He was acting like I didn't have every reason in the world to be furious. I texted back, "No, I think you've got it covered. Since you're the favorite," I typed back. Eric's response popped up instantly. "Oh my God, are you actually mad about the will? Grow up, man. It's just money." Oh, now it was just money. Funny how people only say that when they're the ones getting it. The hypocrisy was unbelievable, I replied. "Then you won't mind using some of that money to pay the mortgage, right?" Silence. Complete, empty silence. A few minutes later, my mom texted again, this time pulling out her full guilt trip routine. "Jake, we're your parents. Family takes care of each other. We did so much for you growing up, and now you're just abandoning us." I had to breathe slowly so I wouldn't hurl my phone across the room. Abandoning them? I had spent years making sure they never struggled, paying bills, buying groceries, fixing everything, while they babied Eric and rewarded every bit of laziness he displayed. Now that reality was hitting them in the face, I was suddenly the villain? Absolutely not. I responded, "You made it clear I wasn't part of the family when you left me out of the will. Now Eric can take care of you." I could practically see my mom gasping dramatically, clutching her chest like she always did whenever she played the victim. She was predictable like that. A few minutes later, a text from my dad arrived, and this one sent my blood pressure through the roof. "We're not asking for much, just enough to cover the mortgage for a few more months until we figure things out. Don't be selfish." Selfish. That single word made my jaw clench so hard it hurt. I had sacrificed my time, money, and energy for years, and somehow I was the selfish one. I typed back, "No, I'm done." Then I turned off my phone. They made their choice. Now they could live with it. The silence lasted barely a day. I knew they wouldn't give up easily, but I definitely wasn't ready for what happened next. The next morning, I woke up to a notification, a bank transfer request. I frowned, unlocked my phone, and nearly laughed. My mom had actually sent me a payment request like I was some damn ATM. The amount? $30,500. I stared at it, half in disbelief, half entertained by the sheer boldness. No message, no explanation. Not even a fake please. Just a cold, shameless request for the exact amount they needed for their overdue mortgage. They weren't even asking anymore. They were expecting, assuming I'd cave like always. I declined it instantly. 5 minutes later, Mom called. I let it ring. Then a text. "Jake, I know you saw the request. Why did you decline it?" I took my time responding. "Because it's not my responsibility. Try Eric." Another call. Declined. Another text followed. "Jake, we're going to lose the house if you don't help us." Oh, now it was suddenly an emergency. Now, after years of treating me like a walking wallet, the crisis was urgent. I replied, "Maybe you should have thought about that before deciding I didn't matter." A few seconds later, my dad chimed in. "You're really going to let your parents become homeless?" I actually laughed out loud at that. It was so over-the-top manipulative it was almost comedy. They weren't broke. They weren't getting evicted. They just didn't want to touch their own savings because they'd gotten used to me footing every bill. I ignored them the rest of the day. Then that night, Eric texted, "Dude, just send them the money already. You're making this a bigger deal than it is." My teeth clenched. This entitled clown really thought he could talk down to me? I replied, "You mean the money you're inheriting? Why don't you send it?" His reply was instant. "You know I don't have that kind of cash right now." Oh, so now it was about affordability. He was perfectly fine with me emptying my bank account, but the second it was his turn, nothing. I typed, "Guess you better figure it out then, bro. You're the one they chose." No response. I went to bed feeling strangely calm, like I'd finally snapped out of years of being manipulated. But the next day, things escalated, hard. I was at work when my phone rang. It was the front desk of my apartment building. "Hey, Jake, your parents are here." I nearly dropped the phone. "What?" She hesitated. "They're saying it's an emergency and that you won't answer their calls." Oh my God, they actually came to my apartment, uninvited, just because I stopped paying their bills. I took a sharp breath. "Please don't let them up. I'm not expecting anyone." An awkward pause. They're being kind of pushy." I gritted my teeth. "I don't care. They can leave." I hung up. Immediately, a text from Mom arrived. "We're downstairs. Open the door." No question, no apology, just another command like I was obligated to obey. I ignored her. Then another text. "Jake, we're not leaving until you talk to us." I exhaled hard, stood up from my desk and grabbed my keys. They weren't going to stop. Fine. I was about to make sure they understood exactly where we stood. I stormed downstairs, blood boiling. I wasn't scared. I wasn't nervous. I was furious. The audacity. Showing up at my home, demanding money, acting like I belonged to them. Not even a phone call first. Not even a fake apology. Just a full-blown ambush. Tch. I really thought they could corner me into compliance like I was some clueless kid. I yanked the door open, and there they were. Mom, Dad, and of course, Eric, clustered together like some pathetic intervention group, standing in a formation like they were about to stage some dramatic family intervention. Mom had her arms folded, wearing her trademark "I'm so disappointed in you" expression, ready to deploy it like a weapon. Dad stood there stiffly, hands jammed into his pockets, his face twisted into a mixture of irritation and entitlement, as if he couldn't believe he had to deal with this in person. And Eric, the parasite, had the audacity to look bored, mildly inconvenienced, like this whole mess wasn't happening because of him in the first place. The moment Mom saw me, she launched into full theatrics. "Jake, finally, we need to talk." I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "No, you need to leave." She blinked like I had spoken a foreign language. "Excuse me? You heard me." My voice was steady, controlled, unshakably firm. "You don't get to show up at my home uninvited and demand cash." "That's insane," Dad scoffed sharply. "You're really going to let us lose the house over a petty grudge?" I let out a cold, humorless laugh. "Petty grudge? Oh, you mean the one where you decided I'm good enough to pay your bills for years but not good enough to exist in your will? That grudge?" Mom gasped, clutching her chest like a soap opera star. "Jake, that's not fair. We only did what we thought was best for the family." I tilted my head. "Best for the family? Just say best for Eric. Be honest for once." Silence followed, heavy and telling. Eric, who had been happily observing from the sidelines like a spectator, finally piped up. "Look, man, I don't even want to be in this. I didn't ask for any of it." I turned to him, and finally let loose. "No, you just key everything handed to you. You're 28, Eric. Get a job." His face flushed crimson. "Dude, what the hell?" I stepped closer. "You heard me. You want to inherit the house? Then act like a homeowner. You want to be the favorite? Start paying their damn bills. I'm done being your walking bank account." Eric looked down, suddenly fascinated by the sidewalk. Mom inhaled deeply, recalibrating for yet another guilt trip. "Jake, he's your brother." I nodded. "Yep, and I've supported him longer than either of you ever have." Dad's expression hardened. "You're being selfish." I let out a real, unfiltered laugh. "Oh, that's rich coming from you." I gestured between them. "You decided Eric deserves everything and I deserve nothing. And now, when the consequences hit, suddenly you want me to fix it? Not happening." Mom's voice sharpened. "We thought you'd be mature about this." I raised an eyebrow. "Mature? You mean quietly accept being betrayed and continue funding your life? Because that's what you expected." Dad took a step forward, trying to intimidate me the way he used to when I was younger. "Jake, we raised you, fed you, clothed you, gave you everything. The least you can do is help us now." I stared right into his eyes. "I already helped you. For years. And you repaid me by cutting me out." Mom's lip trembled. "We thought you'd understand." I shook my head slowly. "Oh, I understand perfectly. I understand that I was never family to you, just a paycheck." More silence, thick, uncomfortable, unavoidable. I turned to Eric, who was still pretending to be invisible. "And you, what's your excuse? You had years to grow up, to get your life together, to support them. But you didn't. Because you knew they'd always bail you out. And when they're gone, you expected me to step in, didn't you?" Eric snapped. "What do you want me to say? I didn't ask for this." I nodded. "Right, you didn't ask. You just reap the benefits." His mouth opened, then shut. "Nothing." Mom tried one last attempt. "Jake, we're family. Family takes care of each other." I looked at her for a long, quiet moment. "Exactly. So why didn't you take care of me?" She froze. No words, no defense, nothing. I exhaled, feeling lighter than I had in years. "We're done here." I turned and walked back inside, closing the door firmly behind me. By the time I made it to the couch, my phone buzzed. A text from Dad. "Wow. After everything we've done for you, you're really going to abandon us?" I smirked and typed back, "No, you abandoned me. I'm just finally accepting it." I hit send, then blocked them all. I had no idea blocking them would only make everything spiral even further. It didn't take long, less than a day actually. I started seeing posts on Facebook. My parents weren't tech geniuses by any stretch, but they definitely knew how to play martyr online. Whenever they felt wronged, the first place they went was Facebook to gather sympathy like it was oxygen. At first, I thought it was just their usual dramatic nonsense, airing family problems for attention. But the longer I scrolled, the more I realized this wasn't just venting. This was targeted. They were posting vague family love messages that were obviously aimed at me. Mom wrote something about not raising her son to be selfish and how real family helps each other. Her friends chimed in calling me ungrateful and saying I'd forgotten what really mattered. Then Dad posted his own gem. So-called family should never abandon you when you need them. We gave everything to our children, and this is how we're repaid. My son is choosing to leave us in our golden years. He tagged me and ended it with a smug hope you're happy. But the one that truly pushed me over the edge came from Eric, of course it did. He shared a post dripping with fake virtue. Some people think family is just about money. They don't understand love and sacrifice. I'd do anything for my parents, but some people are too selfish to see that. I'm grateful for everything mine have done. He even threw in a subtle jab. I wish certain people would learn what real family means. That was it. That was the final straw. I stared at the screen, blown away. How had it come to this? How had they flipped the entire situation? Suddenly, I was the selfish son abandoning his poor parents who gave him so much. I had been the one who sacrificed, who paid, who carried the weight for years, but somehow, I had become the villain. I refused to respond immediately. I sat with it. I thought. I let the anger settle into clarity. And after a few hours I realized I couldn't just let them rewrite the narrative. If they wanted to drag my name through the mud, I was going to tell the truth. So I unlocked my phone, opened Facebook, and started typing. I didn't care about being petty. I didn't care about the drama. I cared about honesty. This is what I wrote. I know I've been quiet the past couple of days. I stayed quiet for as long as I could, but enough is enough. My family has been posting all kinds of things online, claims that are flat out false. They've painted me as the heartless son who abandoned his parents when they needed him the most. So here I am, telling my side, the actual truth. Since the day I was old enough to earn a paycheck, I've supported my family. I've covered bills, stocked their pantry, and stepped in every time something went wrong. But you can't keep giving forever when the people you're giving to refuse to treat you with even basic respect. For years, I watched my parents pour all their time, money, and affection into Eric while expecting me to just silently shoulder responsibility. He always got the house, the gifts, the praise. I got the chores and the bills. Some of you reading this might think, well, families are complicated. Sure they are. But genuine family works both ways, not just whenever they feel like it. When I learned I wasn't even included in the will, like not even considered, that's when everything clicked into place. I wasn't family to them. I was the safety net, the emergency fund, the guy they could lean on whenever life got hard, but never the son they valued. I've paid for vacations I wasn't invited to, helped cover property taxes on a house I wasn't allowed to inherit, and stepped in financially more times than I can even count. And for what? To be treated like an afterthought. I'm done. I'm not an ATM. I'm a person, and I deserve basic decency. I deserve to be treated like I matter, not just when they're in crisis. And as for Eric, he's 28 and has never held down a job, not one. He's never had to take responsibility for anything, because my parents have coddled him his entire life. Of course he's the favorite. He's the easy one. But he's had plenty of time to grow up. Now he needs to actually do it. To everyone siding with my parents based on the version they shared online, understand this. There are always two perspectives. Yes, family matters. But so does self-respect. I've given more than enough. I'm not apologizing for finally stepping away from a situation that's been draining me for years. This isn't me abandoning my family. This is me choosing to protect myself for once. And to my parents, truly, I wish you well. But I refuse to keep being your fallback option, your emotional punching bag, or your financial solution. That part of my life is over. The moment I pressed post, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. For the first time, the truth was finally out there. The truth about the imbalance, the favoritism. The years of using me while making sure I knew I didn't really belong. I wasn't hiding behind their guilt trips anymore. Support came from places I never expected. Old friends, cousins, relatives who'd noticed things over the years but never said anything. They messaged me, telling me they understood, telling me I deserved better. It felt like a weight I'd been carrying my whole life was finally easing. Of course, the backlash came next. Eric blew up my messages. You're a traitor. You didn't have to put everything online. You're disrespectful. My dad called, yelling that I'd destroyed the family image, that I'd crossed the line, that I'd regret ever cutting them off. But I didn't regret it. Not for a second. I blocked them all. And honestly, it was the most peaceful silence I've ever experienced. Day by day, the heavy feeling I'd lived with for years faded. I no longer felt responsible for fixing their messes. I wasn't obligated to keep saving them from the consequences of their own decisions. I was free, genuinely free, for the first time in my life. I don't feel guilt. I don't feel ashamed. I feel relieved. I deserve a life filled with people who value me, not people who just need me. And that's exactly the life I'm building now. Let me know what you think in the comments below.